On May 5th, at 2 o'clock I left the police station.
They immediately started firing, without warning, without anything.
A Turk approached me and said, "Why are you late? We were waiting for you."
Azerbaijanis with those cars transferred us to Artsakh. One of our friends from Wounded People died. He could not stand it.
I am sure about what I am saying. We were promised that in 10 days' time we would be released. It happened.
We hoped that at least one of us would survive and tell others what happened to us there.
(1991) April to June. 31 years ago, forces of the USSR and Azerbaijan carried out the pre-planned military police operation, Ring, the aim of which was to evict Armenians from a number of border villages in the Republic of Armenia and Armenian settlements in Artsakh. Military units of the 23rd Motor Rifle Division of the 4th Brigade of the USSR Transcaucasian District, headquarter in Kirovabad, 104th Airborne Division, headquarter in Shamkhor. Subdivisions of the Baku Regiment of the USSR Ministry of Internal Affairs. Special Forces of Internal Affairs of Azerbaijan, OMON, and Militia. On April 30th, Armenians from the villages of Gitashan and Martunashan in the Gitashan subregion were forcibly evicted. The operation was accompanied by gross violations of human rights, humiliation of the dignity of civilians, and inhuman torture. In late April-early May, on the border of Armenia, there was an explosive situation. According to the description of the Armenian historian Bagrate Alubabian, the goal was to deport Armenians from Artsakh and neighboring regions and fail the independence process that was started and successfully implemented in Armenia. On April 27–30, the Soviet troops located in the Republic of Armenia and Soviet Azerbaijan shelled the Armenian villages of Noyambarian, Ijevan, Shamsha, Din, and Goris regions. According to the announcement of the Media Center of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of the Republic of Armenia, on April 29, 1991, a truck and 2 cars traveling on the Ijevan-Noyambarian highway were shot at from the village of Kemarlu in the Artsakh region. From the settlements of Armenia, the village of Voskepar in the Noyambarian region suffered the most. Some residents were forced to leave their native village at the beginning of May, and others actually found themselves in a blockade. Movement in the village became impossible. In case of any movement, they opened fire on the villagers. The Azerbaijani side closed the evacuation road, as a result of which it became impossible to evacuate all women and children from the village. On May 6, Soviet forces and Special Purpose Unit of the Militia located in Azerbaijan restarted shelling of Voskepar. At 12:20, 2 helicopters were seen in the airspace of Voskepar. A missile was fired at the village. To save Voskepar from eventual destruction, 29 policemen, who were defenders of the village, forcibly surrendered to Soviet army servicemen. In the morning of the same day, a bus and a Niva car transferring 18 policemen and 6 volunteers were ambushed.
On May 5th, at 12 o'clock, I left the police station and traveled along a long road, we call it Mountain Road, for almost 5 to 6 hours. If we went directly to Voskepar, it would take 30 minutes. The reason why we did not go there directly was that the road was controlled by the Soviet army and they did not allow any transport to go to Voskepar.
During the operation, 11 Armenian policemen were killed and 3 were severely wounded.
We moved. I looked forward from the right side of the car. From the lower part of the road, under bushes and under stones, they started shooting. That is what I saw. They immediately started shooting, without any warning, without anything.
The windows shattered. I already understood what was going on and tried to go back, but they shot at Niva.
1.5 km before reaching Voskepar, at 5 a.m., paratroopers of the glorious Soviet Army, General Konovalov students, attacked the bus and shot at police officers. Lieutenant Colonel of Internal Affairs. I was one of the first people who reached there. We carefully examined the place of the incident. Officers of the Internal Affairs of Soviet Armenia were taken by surprise and actually shot without any warning.
Survivors, including wounded people, were handed over to Azerbaijani policemen of Internal Affairs. Azerbaijani servicemen take them to Gazakh. Soldiers of the Soviet army took them to the closest Azerbaijani village and handed them over to Azerbaijanis. The Azerbaijanis took them to Gazakh with their cars. They kept them in Gazakh overnight, then 5 wounded people were transferred to Kirovabad. Firstly, they took prisoners to the square in the Azerbaijani city to declare that Armenian policemen were arrested, and only after that were wounded people taken to hospital. When Armenian officers of the militia tried to help their wounded friends get off the cars, local militia officers and Azerbaijanis gathered in the territory of the hospital and started beating them, including wounded people. People who went through this hell and miraculously survived. Note that Azerbaijani doctors did not help them. The wounded people remained until doctors from Russia reached the place.
Then, when we were taken to Kirovabad, those field doctors from Moscow came there. Wounded people were registered.
Captured Armenian policemen and volunteers were at Gazakh militia station, where they were tortured for 2 days, and then they were transferred to the isolators of Kirovabad, Ganzik, prison. They were trying to see who would endure. One of our wounded friends did not endure and died in Kirovabad. After several days, we were transferred to the military hospital in Kirovabad. In that department, Armenian militia officers met the other 29 prisoners, where they were tortured.
They beat us for several days and did not look where they hit and how they hit. They hit our heads, backs, and hands with blackjack. 5 to 10 people would kick one person. A small man would hit you, and you knew that you could kill him with one hit. But you could not, your hands were tied.
On the day of the bombing the bus, 4 Russian People's deputies arrived in Voskepar. Among those deputies were Viktor Shanis and Anatoly Shabad. Shabad stayed in the village to prevent future violence. According to Anatoly Shabad, on May 8, the command of the battalion located in the heights near Voskepar presented an ultimatum to the policemen and villagers to disarm. The villagers did not obey, after which the Soviet army opened artillery fire on the village, resulting in the deaths of 3 civilians. Anatoly Shabad and Viktor Shanis played a significant role in the return of Armenian prisoners from the Kirovabad prison in the following months.
He visited the prison, talked to us privately, and promised us that we would be free in 10 days' time. It happened.
There were situations, there were moments when we thought that at least one of us would get out and tell others what happened there. At first, we did not think that we would be released, we would go home and see our parents. We were just thinking that one of us would get out and tell others what happened there.
The last hostages from Kirovabad were returned to their homeland only 101 days after being captured.
Different people came, said some things, and left. None of it happened. When Anatoly Shabad came and started speaking, we did not believe him either. He said that he does not blame us, because many people lied to us and left. He said that he was confident in what he said, and he was right. In 10 days' time, we were released.
In the joint statement of law enforcement agencies of the Republic of Armenia, it is mentioned that 14 people were killed, 28 were wounded, and 60 Armenian police officers were captured by internal troops of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of the USSR. Including the civilian population, 104 people were captured and given to Azerbaijan. In Noyambarian, Ejivan, Shamkhor, Din, and other regions, the civil population was targeted. The ring operation was not limited to the above actions and continued until July. It included the Shushi, Mardikert, and Hadrut regions of Artsakh, several Armenian villages of the Shahamayan region, and the villages of Noyambarian, Goris, Ejivan, and Shamkhor Din regions of the Republic of Armenia. As a result, 20 to 25 Armenian settlements in the Shahamayan region and Gitashan subregion were destroyed and evicted. Some of these settlements were Azerbaijanis, and now only Azerbaijanis live there. According to the message of the State Security Committee of the Republic of Armenia from the territory of the Nakhchivan Autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic, on May 2, the villages of Armash, Yereskavan, and Sevikovan in the region of Ararat were shelled with artillery and armored personnel carriers. On May 4, the village of Shagat in the Sisyan region was shelled. On May 5 to 13, Units of the internal troops of the USSR Ministry of Internal Affairs invaded almost all the villages of the region of Goris, including Kanitsak, Aravis, Take, Koznavar, Shoranuk, and Kornidzor villages. Of those, 11 people were arrested from Kornidzor, 9 of whom were militia officers, and 2 were members of the local council. The Goris-Kaapan highway and the TV tower in the region were also shelled. The Soviet Azerbaijani forces also targeted the villages of Sakhavan, Kirants, and Achazhar in the Ijevan region, the police checkpoint near the village of Vazashan, and several settlements in the Krasnosels and Vardinas regions. The resolution adopted by the Senate of the USA on May 17, 1991, mentions that the government of the Soviet Union and government of the Azerbaijan Republic have dramatically escalated their attacks against civilian Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh, Azerbaijan, and Armenia itself. Soviet and Azerbaijani forces have destroyed Armenian villages and depopulated Armenian areas in and around Nagorno-Karabakh in violation of internationally recognized human rights. In the same resolution, the Senate condemned the attacks on innocent children, women, and men, the indiscriminate use of force, including the shelling of civilian areas, on Armenia's eastern and southern borders, and called for the end to the blockades and other uses of force and intimidation directed against Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh. The Ring operation was also widely covered by the international press at that time. In the reference of the American, the Christian Science Monitor newspaper, it was mentioned, Armenians saw the guarantee of their security in being part of the USSR, but current events prove the opposite. The American Washington Post writes, accounts from both sides indicate that the fighting started after Azerbaijani police units, supported by tanks and armored cars, moved into several Armenian inhabited villages. Many Armenians say they believe the Kremlin is giving support to Azerbaijan as a means of putting pressure on their republic in retaliation for its refusal to take part in negotiations for a new treaty of union with Moscow. Quote, on May 16, 1991, the Socialist Party of France made an announcement condemning war crimes committed in Armenia. On May 19, the USSR Russian intellectuals, representatives of the Karabakh Committee, held a protest action in Moscow against the forced deportation of Armenians from Artsakh, a violation of their rights and freedoms.
Other states must intervene and pressure should be applied in order to return these people home, to their parents, to their homes.
Despite the mentioned international responses and resolutions, Azerbaijan continued its anti-Armenian policy during the First Artsakh War and after that. Anti-Armenian aggressive policy again, with the grossest violations of human rights and international norms, was underlined during the war against Artsakh unleashed by Azerbaijan in 2020.
We are sure what is important in their policy. They want the territory, they want to live without Armenians around them, and they want to live without Christians around them. We think so.
It does not matter to them. You can live 120 years next to them, but they are the same. They have an invasive character, and they will always take something.
I am almost sure that it is impossible to live next to Azerbaijanis for 50 to 60 years. They will do their Azerbaijani things, and when they have a chance to do something, they will do it.
As a result of the actions of Azerbaijan, not only police officers were killed, but also dozens of civilians. Many civilians and militants were taken captive and tortured in the same way as it happened to people captured during the Ring operation.
The same. I am sure that now, after the 44-day war, they treat our men even harsher, I am certain.
And today, Azerbaijan, ignoring its obligations to return prisoners of war according to the tripartite announcement on November 9, 2020, with the grossest violations of international law, illegally keeps dozens of Armenian captives in Baku. Perhaps no one will be able to understand them as well as the Armenian policemen and volunteers who were held captive in Azerbaijan 30 years ago.